Alright, I call this meeting to order at 6:30. Roll call?
Christian,
Yes.
Jeske,
Here.
Bowles,
Here.
Oster, Souter,
Here.
Whittington,
Here.
Halliday.
Here.
All rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, before we approve the agenda, I would like to ask for letter F to be taken down to discussion items.
Okay. Letter F. We'll move to action.
Action A, action B, I think.
Alright. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Motion by
support.
Oster, supported by Halliday. Roll call?
Christian,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Oster,
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Looking for a motion to appoint Superintendent Williams as discipline.
Hang on, you missed number one. You missed,
Oh, consent
There you
agenda,
go.
jeez, oh geez. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Halliday,
I'll support.
supported by Oster. All those in, roll call.
Oster,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Whittington,
No.
Jeske,
yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Christian,
No. Motion carries 5-2. Looking for a motion to appoint Superintendent Williams as discipline hearing officer.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jeske,
I'll support.
supported by Halliday. Roll call?
Christian,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Oster,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Motion approved, 7-0. Looking for a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of student discipline, student number 2023-2404, under the Open Meetings Act, Section 8B.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jeske,
Support.
supported by Whittington. Roll call?
Christian,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Oster,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Great, just wait for the infield here.
Smells good.
It's dinner, sounds pretty good.
Alright, return to open session time is 8:02. Looking for a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes.
Make that motion.
I'll
Motion by Jeske, supported by Oster. Roll call?
Bowles,
Here.
Halliday,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Oster,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes. Motion approved, 7-0. At this time, I'm looking for public comments.
I actually have one.
Okay.
Normally I have a superintendent report, but there wasn't one on the agenda. But I will read a nice thank you that Everett High School Principal Jessica Kalenda sent to the board and our district. Dear Houghton Lake Board of Ed, recently our community was greatly affected by not only the loss of an 8th grader to cancer, but also to a very serious car accident involving 4 of our high school basketball players. During this time, your community reached out and extended a very generous hand, not only in donations, but also in prayers and get well wishes, and we greatly appreciated it. Class Act Houghton Lake, thank you from Jessica Kalenda, principal of Everett High School. Just for background, for those of you who were not at that game, the athletic director, our athletic director and the league athletic directors arranged to not take a gate not take admission, and instead they had a donation container, and so people put money in, and all of the league teams sent that money to 2 different causes. One was for the student who unfortunately passed away, and the other was to help the 4 kids with their medical bills. So just wanted to make sure you all got the thank you from Principal Kalenda over at Everett. So very nice of her to send that.
All right. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I thought about it. Number 9 as action items. Looking for a motion for student number 2023-2404 be expelled for 180 days. In addition, the board directs the administration to provide counseling services and a psychological evaluation for the student. Further, the board will expect to see successful completion of regular counseling, the psych evaluation, and academic progress when reviewing this at the future reinstatement hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Whittington,
I'll support.
supported by Oster. Roll call?
Oster,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Motion, looking for a motion to hire Nate Maury as varsity baseball coach for the amount of $4,215.80 out of the general fund.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Whittington,
I'll support.
supported by Jeske. Discussion?
I've got to ask the question of, is our athletic director going to be our athletic director, or is he going to coach spring, fall, winter, and spring sport programs? I think, I know we, every school district has issues, finding coaches and things of that nature. I think this is a lot to put on the plate, for our athletic director to assume another position at the same time of his role as athletic director. So I've got to question, whether it makes the best sense for us to continue in that dual roles throughout the whole year when we still have to cover our expensive game management and different things like that.
Because what does that look like for games that he's not present? We have to pay somebody to be acting AD, is that correct? If he's not present at other games?
Typically, yeah, that kind of comes into play more at large stadium events, for example, football, basketball, volleyball, where you're going to have a big crowd. We don't ever have administrative presence for non-revenue events. So when you look at the season, some seasons are more heavily impacted than others. The fall season, if the AD's not present and has a golf match because he's coaching golf, and we have a football game, we would have an event manager because we might have 1,000 people there. But we don't have an administrative presence typically, at a cross country or, let me try to think of another good example. We do typically have administrative presence rotate through a baseball or softball because both fields are right here. But it's a different level of coverage. You always need an event manager because you always need somebody to coordinate with officials, and if there's a problem or the scoreboard power goes out, somebody needs to be there to manage the event. And a coach cannot effectively coach and be the event manager. So in that case, we typically have an event manager. Sometimes it's an admin, sometimes it's someone that we ask to do that. It just depends on who's available. I can think of, if I look back to the fall, I think we had maybe 3 or 4 times where we had a staff member serve as the event manager for football, and I think it might have been for volleyball. And so I haven't really looked at the schedule for the spring to see what that would look like. Like, would it be 4 times? Would it be 2 times? Would it be 5 times? But let's say it's 5 times $50.
That's what it is $50 if we have to pay somebody.
but we're also, we've had the same situation for fall. So that was both football and volleyball games. Now we're in basketball season, so that's another season of events happening, especially on a large scale from the high school perspective. And now we're gonna go into spring. So it's not just 50 times 5 for spring, it's 50 times however many the other direction.
It's probably under $1,000 for the year, if you're just trying to get a rough number, like if you're looking at, let's assume that this were to happen all 3 seasons for a year or 2 years, it would be conservatively under 1,000 a year. And I think, if we look at this through the lens of cost-benefit analysis, I don't wanna speak for Jeff or Chad who did the interviews, but if I look at it as, unfortunately, if we had 7 applicants and 5 of the 7 were really strong, we wouldn't be in this situation. But it's more important to me to find someone who has experience to then build a program and offer more opportunities for our kids. I know I've asked Jeff and Alicia and Heidi and our AD and anybody, frankly, whether it's our STEM teacher, build it. The more opportunity we have for kids, the better. And so if we can position someone who has a background and a track record of building and experience, I like that. And to me, personally, that's worth, under $1,000 a year. But I also think if you look at this through the lens of, an administrator who's coached, it's a different situation. Let's look at Mr. Watson, who's not here right now. But absent an applicant who had the requisite skill to do it, he continued to do it. But he did say, and has now resigned, he's always said, if there's someone who can do this and take this on without this team shutting down or foundering, I'll step aside. And that's where we are now. So I can't speak for Mr. Maury. I don't know if he wants to coach 1 year or 5 years or 2 years. I have heard, and he's not in the room, but I have heard that this sport is his passion, his primary expertise, and that he would, and Jeff, you may elaborate, but he would give up the winter coach to keep his balance. So back to your point, do we want to overload someone with coaching 3 seasons? Is that accurate?
Do you mind if I, yeah, so, in our interview process and in talking with Nate, so Nate has taken on a middle school boys basketball, more as we are trying to expand that, and we had 30 plus kids in the program. He had actually stepped away from the middle school basketball program. Then we had so many kids, we had a combo team again, because the kids have consistently really liked Mr. Hoover, really liked Mr. Maury, and so more kids keep coming out to that program, and so we had a 3rd opportunity this year. And so even though he had stepped away, at the last minute, we hired in a new coach, and having somebody to do the scheduling in the administrative capacity and the combo team role, while some younger coaches got some experience this year, he stepped up and filled that void. But I do believe, without putting words in his mouth, I do believe his intention now that, he would have a varsity program is to be able to give his coaching chops to that varsity sport and step away. I don't want to speak for the girls golf program. I know that Nate has expressed he was advocating for adding girls golf so that our girls had other opportunities in the fall. It was never about Nate. I don't think Nate's passionate about coaching girls golf. I think that he likes working with the athletes and likes building the program, and but now that we have in 2 years, a JV of varsity, and we're sending a girl to the state finals, and that program's in a good spot, I think that he's comfortable with continuing to look for what's the next phase of that. I think baseball is the thing that Nate, you ask him, you're a coach, and I'm a baseball coach. I think baseball is that sport. I don't know how to elaborate on that. I've coached a lot of sports, but I'm a basketball coach, right? And you love the sport that you love, and I truly think that that's what Nate when we spoke to him about the position, you get about 10 minutes into a conversation, it's like, I like baseball, but I don't know what you're talking about anymore, you know? And then seeing the numbers that he was churning out in Grayling, when you're talking about 20 kids on a team and winning a district title, and knowing some of the weather factors that you have to deal with in this area, it was pretty open and shut. I don't necessarily, you host one track meet a year, and then we have our home girls soccer. When we talk about event managers, the baseball and softball really does run itself. It doesn't run itself, but like it requires less oversight in that capacity, and so I think we're comfortable with the game manager piece in those events. And then when if you just take the name off of the application and you just look at previous experience as a baseball coach, I gotta be totally honest, we could have had 5 very good candidates, and his resume probably would have been better than most of them. I mean, it's a pretty fantastic baseball resume, it really is.
What does that resume look like, Jeff?
What was that?
What does that resume look like?
So-
How many years in Grayling?
So if you look at Grayling, kind of before he comes in, you look at numbers in the program. So they're keeping their 2 teams, right? So Nate comes in and like a 40% increase in student participation, which, sorry, that's my singular focus right now, right? Connecting kids to those programs, because that leads to the academic improvements and things like that. So then you look at like the history of Grayling baseball. It's very hard to be a district champion in this geographical area. We get a month late start on the sport. It's just kind of what happens. And so when he lays out that, when he puts on his resume that he's coached like travel baseball and stuff like that, and he really tries to elaborate on some of the indoor training methods that he's used through those mediums, like nobody else had that. Like nobody else, we're not seeing that on other applications, we're not seeing that in the softball applications. And so you talk about win increase, the win increase is on that is on the application, and you talk about, the resume, you talk about championships, right? Putting an actual trophy in the case, he's done that. And he's got like that knowledge of the teams that we're playing. I mean, that district that he won, we were one of the teams in that district. And so you got the student participation, you got the actual wins and losses, like actually winning consequential games. He's done that piece. And then what I will say too on the resume, when he did put down his golf and his middle school basketball, when you look at percent of participation of our athletes, they enjoy his programs. Like girls golf started, they just keep trickling in. Oh, now we need JV girls golf. Man, are we gonna need to send 2 teams? Like, just keep playing. And so then when you look at the middle school basketball, I mean, we started talking, we're gonna need to add a 4th team. We're gonna send one group this way, one group that way. There's a participation level that's happening that we appreciated, and right now I think the last number, we've got 29 kids. Now they actually have to show up, right? You can get 50 kids to sign anything, but we have 29 kids signed up to play baseball right now, just like a straw poll, and that's doing the things that we're talking about in building programs. Walking around at lunch, you want to try baseball? I'm not good at baseball. It's all right, you'll fit in just fine. Come on out, like let's give it a try. I'll teach you how to play baseball. There's just the right fit for driving our students to programs where we can then connect them to the district more. So
I can wrap myself around the idea that we're growing our programs, the more participation, and I can be honest with everybody, I'm all about the person being in this building, whether it's a teacher, a staff member, the janitor, whomever,
That's
that
huge.
they get the touches, right? Instead of going to see Mr. Zarepski, they gotta go see Coach, because Coach is gonna put them in their place, right?
That's huge.
But as we grow these programs, and the main person that is running all these programs, setting all the schedules, the referees, this, that, and the other, you know, where are we losing a touch at as far as, you know, organization or, you know, making sure that things are happening the way they're supposed to be.
So, and everything that I say from this point is speculation, but as somebody, I think it's a valid point. So I coached JV football, coached varsity basketball, and then I coached varsity baseball in 1 year cycle. I came back for JV football and I was about 2 weeks into JV football and I was like, nope.
Can't do it.
But there are some milestones that happen that let you know, like, especially as a competitor, this is not attainable. And for me, it was baseball and football are affecting basketball. And I think that when we talk about Nate as a baseball coach, I think that baseball is going to be his second focus in the district, but obviously athletic director is the primary, right? But when I think he starts talking about middle school basketball and girls golf, he's got those programs in very good positions, and I think now he wants to turn his focus to baseball. That would be, it's better than speculation. Like, I have had conversations, but I also am not comfortable speaking for Nate. There's no resignation letter in my hand for girls golf right now or anything like that. I don't want to say that. But I also do believe that, you know, he's aware of the demands of the athletic director job. And, you know, we've had some informal conversations about running a varsity sport is hard. It can be done in tandem with multiple jobs, for sure. I mean, we're asking teachers. Teaching is just as demanding job of being an athletic director, and we would love for all of our coaching positions to be held by teachers, right? I mean, that's the truth. It's the same amount of hours. Sometimes it's different hours, but we're talking comparable hours. And so I certainly think it's feasible, and I think he has to just make some considerations on those other seasons, and I think that he's comfortable with that.
Any further discussion? No? Alright, roll call?
Coles,
Yes.
Souter,
No.
Halliday,
No.
Whittington,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Oster,
No.
Motion carries 4-3. This time we are adjourned, 8:22.